So welcome to the second episode of Boy Talks. So, as you guys could tell from like my last video, I'm doing this whole series. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I'm doing this series now where I'm addressing you guys' issues. So it's problems that you guys have sent to me about, you know, problems or issues that you've had or experienced with regards to the opposite sex. So I posted I started receiving lots of emails, thank you for that by the way, from my last video, because I put my email address for you guys to send your problems to, and I just selected a random 2 and I stuck it on my social media, my Instagram, which you should be following if you don't, and you guys basically voted which one. I'm going to do them all, rest assured, but I'm just kind of choosing, I'm allowing you guys to choose which one comes next, so to speak. So, the one that was really kind of popular, and this has been a topic that's kind of popular anyway, regardless, because it's just such a controversial issue. I did once do a video on it. Some of my avid followers that have their notifications on would have seen it, but I deleted it soon after because it didn't get bad comments, but I just wasn't ready for the backlash, and now I am. I just don't care. Whatever. It is what it is. The topic is Mut'a, which is temporary marriage, which is seen as this, you know, unorthodox practice that Shias do. So the video that I'm going to do today is going to be kind of centered around that, because the message or the question that I've been sent in is to do with that, but I'm also going to try and touch up on it, obviously, and give my opinion on it. This video is purely my opinion and purely what I've understood from it. I'm probably not only going to get crap from like Sunni people, I'm probably going to get crap from Shia people, because a lot of I don't agree with a lot of like the way that it's seen by some Shia people as well. So I have my own opinion that I've derived from logic and reading over the years, and just generally what I've been taught growing up. So without further ado, I'm going to read the question out to you guys. Hi Thanna, how are you doing? I have been following you for a while and I like you and your videos very much. You don't have to read the whole email on YouTube, summarize it in your own words. Okay, too late. I'm gonna read it and summarize. Oh, should I just read it and summarize it? Okay, no, I'll just read it to you guys. Okay, I'm a Shia divorcee. So here's the thing, I'm a Shia divorcee about your age. Lol, I feel so old. Don't we all? I am 32 by the way, so probably in her 30s. I do not have any kids. I'm working as well as doing my masters. My prior marriage was arranged and I had never dated anyone before that. Also, I came from a conservative background, and this is all the background info. Okay, cool. So she's a conservative woman she comes from a conservative family, obviously, which means she's not allowed to really probably talk to guys as freely as she'd like, or she'd want, or maybe she doesn't want, I don't know. And she entered into an arranged marriage, didn't work out for whatever reason, and now she's here with no kids. She's a single woman now, a single divorcee with no kids. So recently I started talking to guys. You can call it dating, but everything is strictly halal, no touchy, etc. They will usually like and admire me, but when it gets time to get serious, after talking a few months and meeting a few times, they do not want the marriage nikah, but they would rather do a Mut'a. This is so annoying. I know you had a video about the topic and removed it, and I also understand how controversial it is, and can stir up a lot of things, but I'm so frustrated with the Mut'a offers. My frustration is with religion. Guys who misinterpret religious laws to their gains, and the way our culture treats divorcees. I know among some Muslim cultures, Mut'a is more common and it has some qualifying conditions, but whatever the case might be, this is beyond frustrating and I actually feel disrespected by such offers. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks, keep me anonymous, obviously. Obviously, it's not about to put this on blast. Okay, so first of all, what is Mut'a? Mut'a is temporary marriage. Okay, it's specified, believe it or not, in the Quran, and the verse and the surah is, I had to do a bit of reading. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, because what I do, like a lot of the way that I live my life is based on like common sense and logic, and what I've everything that I've been taught about Islam and growing up, like how I was raised in an Islamic family, I use those values and those morals to kind of decipher what I take to be true or what I take to be, this is annoying, what I take to be, like, it doesn't really make sense to me. So the surah in question, and the verse rather in question, is as follows. Right, so the evidence from the Quran is Surah number 4, verse 24. Okay, it says, except the forbidden woman. I'm presuming the forbidden women are women that are already married, etc. Like, they're not lawful to you, your brothers and your sisters, except your sisters or your aunties or women that are already married. The rest are lawful unto you to seek them with gifts from your property, i.e. dowry, provided that you desire protection from sin, not fornication. So for whatever you have had of pleasure, is temptatum, which is where the word Mut'a comes from, with them by the contract, give unto them their appointed wages as a duty, the wages being the dowry. And there is no sin for you in what you both agree in extending the contract. After fulfilling the first duty, lo, Allah is the ever-knower wise. Okay, that's in the Quran. So everyone is in agreement that it's there. But I think the differences between the Shia and the Sunni sects is where the Shia claim that it still applies, Sunnis say that it was then made forbidden. So I was reading a couple of Sunni references, namely Tafsir al-Kabir by Fakhr al-Razi, not sure, where they said the part where he basically narrates that the part where it was made forbidden is, it goes, it is interesting to note, okay, that Omar did not contribute the prohibition of Mut'a to the Prophet. There were others who did that after Omar, mainly to justify what he did. Omar clearly mentioned that Mut'a was permitted at the time of the Prophet, and I prohibit it. So it was prohibited by Omar. So this is probably where the differentiation comes from. Now, where I stand on Mut'a, obviously as you guys know, I'm Shia. I believe that there was a time back in the Prophet's days where it was needed, and that's why it was brought. You know how Quran is brought down in bits, in parts. It wasn't brought down all in one go as one ready book. It was brought down and it addressed issues as and when they came. So it was brought down at a time where it was needed, you know, for whatever reason, whether it was, you know, men were going out to war and they were dying, and then obviously they had wives and families and no one to look after those wives and families, and other men that came back and survived the war would then marry these women to look after them. So it was a noble beginning, but I do understand that, you know, where the issue arises is like the whole pleasure aspect of it, etc. But that's written in the Quran already, like it's already there. So what I don't get is, if it's in the Quran, how are we, that can't be right. If it's in the Quran, why are we even discussing this? Anyway, the way that I see it, using my logic and my common sense, is it was required at a certain time, and there are, don't get me wrong, there are reasons why it could still apply, and I'll come to those in a second, and why it would still be useful in this day and age. However, the majority of the usage of it nowadays, I don't believe is lawful to Islam. I don't believe God would be pleased with us knowing how it's being used. I don't believe it's even halal how it's being used. So for instance, nowadays you have Shia guys, I mean, I don't want to generalize, but a lot, it is going to be that. It is going to be Shia guys, not Sunni guys, is it? Anyway, a lot of guys, what they do is like, they'll go out clubbing, Muslim guys, they'll go out clubbing, you know, they'll find themselves like a white non-Muslim chick or whatever it is, they'll go and spend the night in the hotel with her, they'll do Mut'a for that night, have sex, and leave, not see her ever again or whatever it is, and that to them is halal. don't agree with this at all. I don't even think it's lawful at all. I believe where the reasoning is like noble. For instance, I could imagine now, if there was to think of a reason perhaps where it would be useful in this day and age, would be, or required, because like right now we have nikah, like nikahs are done left, right and centre, like there's no reason to enter a mut'a. Like why are we choosing mut'a over a nikah without good reason? Why are we doing that? Because mut'a doesn't have that many, like there's no more, like it's a secret thing. Like why are you trying to hide something if you're honest about it and you have good intentions about it? That's my issue now with the way mut'a is being used. There are instances that I do believe it is and can be used, and so I'll give you an example. For instance, if say there were two people getting to know each other, they want to do the nikah, but say they've got like, I don't know, family abroad and they want them to be present for the nikah, because obviously nikah is something that you want to share with your family or whatever, or you know, they've got a sickness in their family, you know, parents or whatever, so they can't attend at that specific time. To avoid doing haram, I believe it would be okay to do a mut'a in that situation, because all family, like both sets of families know about it. Like it's in the open, it's being used for a noble reason. We want to make things halal between our relationship, because what's the point of stopping the flow of the relationship when, you know, both parties are in agreement, they want to get married, everyone is in the know, but we don't want to do the nikah without our parents, or we don't want to do the nikah without family, or without so-and-so being here. Like it's like purely logistics. But with that, it's got good intentions behind it. So you can't liken that to, for instance, someone who is trying to get to know you. For instance, going back to the question, because I need to do that. Going back to the question, a guy getting to know you, he should be able to get to know you enough to level to know whether or not he wants to marry you without getting physical. In the situation where he wants to get physical, that is the point where you should just draw a line, because at the end of the day, if he wants that, he needs to do something for that. Like that doesn't come free. That shit doesn't come free. Like it's not like, oh yeah, the next step is to get physical, so I'm just going to get physical. And I'm not going to go about it the correct way and having a car, you know, in front of people. I'm going to do a secret marriage with you to basically see if it's going to go well, use and abuse you in the meantime, and if it doesn't go well, I could just literally just wash my hands off it and be like, that's it, it's gone. Whereas me, and in that period, that girl's being used. For people that agree with Mut'a the way it's being used, and for those reasons, for dating and things like that, do you believe God's going to be pleased with you when you hurt a woman like that, when you use a woman like that, when you make her feel that this is serious and you're just trying to stop haram, but in the end, she's literally just been used? It's not correct. Like, there needs to be logic at some point. So, yeah, I understand before maybe it was practiced a bit more because it wasn't that easy to get in a car. But nowadays, like, honestly, I'm like proper trying to push this movement of just get your nikah done. And I know a lot of the Asian cultures, they do the nikah and they have to do the wedding straight after. But no, we don't need to do that. It's such a cultural step. There's nothing in the Quran written that says the minute you have a nikah, you have to move in together and you have to live as man and wife. You can use that period to get to know each other. There's nothing wrong with that. And that goes on, and that then leads us to the way that we view divorced women. Divorced, of course, meaning people that have broken up from the nikah. We shouldn't be looking at them like they're second goods. To allow us to be able to embark on these relationships and you know, get to know people in a halal way and not be worried that, crap, if this messes up, the whole world is going to know I'm divorced and I'm going to be literally used goods. Like, it's so wrong. Like, this girl, like so many girls that don't do the nikah, okay, they'll have sex in relationships when they're having a relationship, and they won't be virgins, but in front of the world they haven't been married. So this girl would be seen as more desirable, okay, to a prospective man who's backwards and he just doesn't want a divorced woman, than a woman who's been married, had her nikah done, embarked on a relationship, it didn't work out, had to get divorced from that nikah. That woman would be better in his mind than that woman that woman that hasn't had the nikah be better than the woman that has, when in fact, Islamically, the woman that did the nikah is the one that didn't really commit sin. Like, that's such an important thing to know. Like, how are you even gonna, like, how does that even make sense? It doesn't. And it all comes down to the backwards mentalities of our communities and how they view divorced women. And I've told you guys a million times, I'd rather have, like, if I'm getting to know people, I'd rather have 1, 2, 3, 4 nikahs even. As long as I know I'm pleasing God, I really couldn't give a shit about pleasing the world. Like, I do not give a shit about. And any guy that gets put off by that, I don't even want that guy. I don't want a guy that's judgmental. I don't want a guy that closed-minded. I don't even want to be with a guy like that. So, really and truly, I understand your frustration. It's annoying. If the conditions that I've just said to you aren't applicable to you, i.e. it isn't like an out in the open thing where you're both getting to know each other. Like, I genuinely believe if parents are involved, I don't think it's the worst thing to have Mut'a. If parents are in the know and openly these two individuals are engaged, whether it's a nikah or a Mut'a, the fact that it's in the open, I don't believe it's the end of the world. I don't believe it's this halal prostitution, as people like to call it. But the way it's being used, or rather misused, now by so many, you know, young Shia people is disgusting, and it's giving off this really, really bad name to Shia as a whole. I just don't think it's right. But yeah, well, let me just go back to the question. But in terms of dating a guy and he asks to do Mut'a, if the conditions that I mentioned aren't applicable, you know, it's not out in the open, he's trying to do everything in secret, I wouldn't really go forward with a guy like that. Like, if he's the one suggesting the Mut'a, I wouldn't really entertain that. It's not about that life, like, it really isn't. There's a reason why he's asking for a Mut'a and not a nikah. That is enough. I'm not saying the nikah, the Mut'a is wrong, because I just explained to you where the instances where I think it is permissible, like it is okay to do. But where it's not those conditions, for me it's a massive red flag. He's asking me to do Mut'a. He just wants to have sex. That's what I'm gonna hear. That's when he says, let's do Mut'a, so we're not doing haram, I'm gonna hear, I wanna have sex with you and then leave you. That's what I'm hearing. So I don't disagree with Mut'a, with specific conditions that are noble, good intentioned, out there in the open with your family. Families are aware. However, the way that it's being used in this day and age, I completely disagree with. And a lot of Shias might disagree with what I'm saying, but I'm not really here to be agreeing with people. I'm here to give you my opinion. That was my opinion. So yeah, that is that. I hope I made sense. I don't know if I made sense. But yeah. I don't really want to go too deep into like the nitty gritty of it as well. This is like beginner's level on what Mut'a is. I'm going to be completely honest with you. 1 second. Hi guys. So you probably realised my makeup's changed, my setting's changed, my scarf even's changed. That's because after I got cut off yesterday because my daughter arrived, I had to put her to sleep and she wouldn't go to sleep, so I ended up sleeping with her and I fell asleep basically, and I didn't have a chance to conclude the video. So this is going to be me concluding the video. I pretty much said everything else I wanted to say. I think the last thing I was saying was that this isn't an in-depth of whether Mut'a is permissible and all of that, and temporary marriage is permissible. This is more my view of it as I've grown up and as I've learnt more and more about it, and as time has gone on and as kind of we've developed as a people. I think there are lots of things that were applicable back in the day, but they're not necessarily applicable now for like general reasons. Like, you can't just, I think it's the same thing as like when you pick a certain like verse from the Quran and you apply it like as it is, like it doesn't make sense, stuff like that. What I mean is that if you apply it like word for word, you need to use your brain that God has given you to apply it in the way that is in line with your religion that your God has taught you, you know? So same with this, I believe it's, yeah, it is, because it's written in the Quran, we've all just seen that it's written in the Quran, but I think, you know, God, I think part of the test of our life is to use our common sense that God has given us and our heart and, you know, just our kind of balance of what's right and wrong and using that to judge on situations. And I think, like I said, where Mut'a is permissible, I do believe it is permissible with certain conditions. I don't believe these people that are misusing it now, which is the majority of people, I don't believe they're just going to be like, they're going to get away scot-free, like with hurting girls and like using girls the way that they are. Because I get so many messages of, oh yeah, Shia women, they're prostitutes, you know, like at the end of the day, like it's very rare for a woman to engage in Mut'a thinking that this is just sex or this is just, you know, whatever it is and it's not serious. It's very unlikely. I mean, if any girl does agree to do Mut'a, generally in her mind, she thinks she's furthering or making halal the relationship that she wants to then turn into marriage. But the problem with that is once you do that, you are kind of handicapping yourself and you're, instead of just like, because at that point, once you do that and things become halal, that guy has no need to then marry you. Like, what's his need to marry? Before, he'd need to marry you to get physical with you. Well, now he won't need to do that. So you're kind of handicapping yourself and you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot at that stage. So I think in that day and age, if anyone does request, in this day and age, if anyone does request, you know, for you to do Mut'a or temporary marriage, and it's not with the conditions that I said that both families know, or you've got extenuating circumstances why you can't do the nikah at that minute and that second, then I would 100% point blank refuse, and more than refuse, cut that person off. Like, some people, like, they might just, I'm not saying all guys want to use it to like mess around with girls. Some guys might actually just generally want to do it for like religious purposes, but they're not ready to get engaged. Even with those, I would decline, but decline and give them the opportunity to make it up. They might then say, you know what, you're right, let's just not keep it not physical until I'm ready to have the aqid and the nikah, and when I am, we'll have the nikah. Like, that person, I'd be like, you know what, fair enough, he made a mistake, he tried to probably get something out of this or whatever it is, and he didn't get it, but he's still serious because he still wants to pursue it without being physical. So it's a very, very kind of grey area. And it's difficult to kind of leave someone, like, I think it's one of those issues where you can't just leave it to people's own devices. Same way, like, alcohol was previously permissible, and then we couldn't leave it to people's own devices. Like, we can't say that alcohol is good for you in small amounts, like, because people are people, and people, you know, misuse things, people take advantage of things, and that's probably why it was made non-permissible, because we can't allow humans to kind of make those choices. And I think that's kind of similar with Mut'a. I'm not saying that it's no longer permissible, I'm just saying it's difficult to say, yeah, it's permissible to a whole people, because 100% people are going to misuse it, as they do nowadays anyway. So I think for that reason, that's probably where a lot of like the confusion comes with Sunni Muslims looking on Shia Muslims practicing it, because it's like they're misusing it, which is absolutely correct, they are misusing it. But anyway, that's all. I hope this has kind of given you a tiny bit of insight. This is an insight into my opinion of Mut'a. This isn't like an in-depth you know, description of what Mut'a is and like the laws of it and the Islamic legalities of it. It's none of that. It's just me reading something and using my common sense, and if you appreciate my common sense, then I guess you're here for that, and if you don't, then you don't. It's fine. You don't need to agree with what I'm saying. This is just my opinion on the matter, and to be honest with you, I think this opinion is a lot more positive than the opinions of Mut'a that are going around nowadays. It's positive without being detrimental to our religion. So yeah, that is that. I hope this has been informative, and again, if you guys have any kind of questions or anything like that, then please do submit them using the email below. I put in the description, it's ASKTHANNA@gmail.com. And if you don't already follow me on social media, then do. I often go on Instagram Live, my Snapchat, etc. Like the details will be at the end of the video. But yeah, thank you for joining in. Bye.